Hi, I'm Nicole Smithy, co-founder of Iridescent Women, and today we're going to take a closer look at one way Jesus responded to the injustices around him throughout his life and ministry. When we read the Gospels found in the New Testament, we see a pattern of Jesus including the excluded. Let's take a look at Jesus' interaction with someone very much excluded from society. It's found in Matthew 8, 1 through 3. When Jesus came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus reached out his hand and he touched the man. "I am willing," he said, "be clean." And immediately he was cleansed of his leprosy. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "In the moral sphere, every act of justice or charity involves putting ourselves in the other person's place and thus transcending our own competitive particularity." So, let's take C.S. Lewis's advice here and put ourselves in this leper's shoes for a moment. To be a leper in Jesus' day meant you were a victim of discrimination through no fault of your own. Your body would have been attacked with skin lesions that physically disfigured your limbs and eyes. And if this were not painful and debilitating enough, you were then subjected to social segregation. In fact, you were viewed with such disgust and fear by those in your community that you were required to shout out, "Unclean, unclean," when people approached you. This would be your life as a leper, hopeless and isolated, even though you did nothing wrong, which is what makes what Jesus does in this passage so extraordinary. Not only does Jesus not run from the leper, but he touches him. I wonder when was the last time this leper had felt human touch? Weeks, months, years? And Jesus' touch immediately brings healing both inside and out to this man's life. And it's not just the leper Jesus included in his ministry, but we see him time and time again including the excluded. From his inclusion of women, children, foreigners, and so-called sinners, we see Jesus moving in love towards the excluded and marginalized of his day. Jesus showed us that as followers of Jesus, fighting injustice requires us to recognize and include the often excluded or disadvantaged within our communities. In our next video, we're going to take a closer look at how Jesus challenged cultural practices that perpetuated injustice. But first, here's a question for reflection. How has Jesus included me? And who are often excluded and marginalized in my community?